Greetings and welcome to this edition of
Positronic Hypersonic.
I'm Barry P. Cook, and I'm here to talk to you about the series premiere of Gen V, the spin-off of Prime Video's The Boys, which just happened today. It was a 3-episode premiere, and we're going to do a recap and review of the 3 episodes. The first one was called God U, which is interesting because it's an abbreviation of the name of the college where the show takes place, the full name of which is Godalkin University, but for short, it's God U, which is interesting because, you know, the superheroes sometimes can be seen as gods and sometimes think of themselves as gods. So I thought that was interesting that they call it God U. Anyway, as the show starts, we get a flashback to 8 years prior to the most recent events on The Boys, to the time when A-Train was first drafted into the 7. A young lady named Marie seems to fall ill while her family watches the news about A-Train's induction into the 7, but it turns out she wasn't actually ill. It was just that her lady monthly visit was showing up for the first time. And when she went to the little girl's room to deal with it, she ended up getting some blood on her hands and then inadvertently weaponized it, killing first her mother and then, quite explosively, her father, both by accident, much to her sister's horror. In the present tense, young people inside some kind of dorm at some kind of institution, one of them being Marie, wake up for the day before going about various school-like tasks. Marie starts organizing some equipment in a gymnasium before cutting open each of her hands and throwing her blood around like projectile weapons, breaking some of this equipment, and then witnesses one of her fellow young people being taken away by the cops as they're tasered to dampen their powers, before learning that she herself has been accepted with a full scholarship to Godalkin University, which of course is a college for powered individuals. She soon arrives at said college, where of course superpowered teens are everywhere, engaging in various super acts as they go about their day, and she makes her way to her dorm where she meets her roommate, Little Cricket, aka Emma, who apparently has the ability to get small.
Let's get small.
Emma takes Marie to the school arena where the various students are working out or whatever, because she wanted to show her one student in particular named Golden Boy, aka Luke, who apparently does some sort of Human Torch thing as he engages in a workout, which involves him sparring with a big guy who can apparently have both of his arms ripped off and then reattached. Marie then goes to see a professor on campus named Brinks, played by Clancy Brown, to find out why she was rejected from his intro to crime fighting school and to try to get in anyway, but she's unsuccessful. That evening, she comes across a superpowered student running from some very well-equipped security personnel and uses her powers to slow him down, at which point he yells that he's not going back to the forest, before another student, played by the guy who played Sabrina's cousin on the chilling adventures of Sabrina, named Andre, takes him down long enough for the security agents to subdue him with some kind of gas that they give him through a mask. The professor meets with Golden Boy and tells him that not only is he getting a burn-proof suit made for him, but that he's been posted to the 7 without an audition or any kind of draft. Andre approaches Marie to talk about how messed up it was that the person they interacted with earlier got dragged off the way he did. And while inviting her to go on an off-campus field trip with him and Golden Boy and some others, floats a couple of names that she might use for herself in her hero guise, Bloody Marie and Coagula, both of which she doesn't like. Emma, it turns out, is both thrilled and jealous at this development and encourages Marie to go, despite her having misgivings. Upon joining the field trip, on Emma's advice, she finds that one of the members is the person from the professor's office, Jordan. Who initially rejected her from the class. Marie ends up having a pretty deep conversation with Golden Boy, aka Luke, in which she first peddles him a phony backstory about her relationship with her parents and about her past, which she's kind of been doing throughout the episode whenever she talks to anybody, but then comes clean to a degree and lets him know that her parents died and that she's at the school to learn how to be a hero, to prove something to her sister, at which point he very wisely tells her that being a superhero isn't easy and that if she's going to do it, she should do it for herself. Meanwhile, Emma, after reading some mean comments on her YouTube channel, engages in a hookup with a guy who doesn't waste much time before letting her know that what he really wants is for her to get small and ride his little man, at which point she goes into the bathroom to make herself small so that she can do this. And we see that how she does it is by inducing vomiting. At the same time, the field trip crew goes to a club that they don't have a reservation for but are able to get in when Tate, who is dating Luke, takes off one of her gloves and touches the hand of the doorman and Jedi mind tricks him into letting them in. Once in, the drugs come out and they convince Marie to take some Molly. Then we literally get to see Emma hanging on her new friend's situation, which delights him quite a bit while simultaneously horrifying me. Back at the club, Luke, while tripping on shrooms, is walking around and seems to be contacted telepathically for help by the kid from earlier who'd gotten shoved into a cell. Andre tries to impress a young lady by turning a quarter into a bird that he then tries to fly across the room slowly into someone else's drink to impress her when someone bumps into him as he's doing it, and he accidentally sends it into a very important artery of a random young lady in the club who doesn't seem long for this world immediately thereafter, at which point he and Golden Boy and Tate flee while Marie stays behind and uses her powers to put some of the young lady's blood back into her body, saving her life to the delight of onlookers. The next day, after news of what she did goes viral, she's called to the professor's office. Apparently, she's getting kicked out of the school because he's afraid that now that she's gone viral, people will find out that the other heroes were there with her and were responsible for almost killing the woman and then taking off, which would tank their careers. Obviously devastated, she leaves campus and gets angry with Emma on her way out, since Emma is the one that convinced her to go out. Luke continues to hear telepathic calls for help. Determined to get back into school, Marie goes back to the professor's office and sees Luke turning the professor into a pile of ash, which apparently he did because he seems to think the professor was responsible for putting the kid that's calling him for help into the situation that he's in. Marie says she won't say anything, but he chases after her, intent on making sure she doesn't, at which point Jordan gets in his way and tries to get him to calm down before telling Marie to run when they realize he's not going to. And then the two of them have one hell of a fight. Marie manages to make it outside, where she runs into Andre and tells him what happened just before Luke makes it outside as well. Andre manages to get him to calm down momentarily, but then after apologizing in advance and whispering something to Andre, he flies up into the sky and flames himself on to the point where he pops like a zit. The episode ends with a message from the lady who manages the Seven, explaining that the events surrounding Luke were an isolated incident of a psychotic break by a heavy drug user. The second episode of the premiere was called First Day, and as it starts, Vought is in full damage control mode, as Marie and Andre, as well as an inconsolable Kate, watch Luke's remains being scooped up. Ugh. Marie finds herself ranked in the top 10 students after fighting Luke, while Andre and Jordan are now number 1 and number 5, respectively, the latter of which doesn't go well with Jordan. Kate encounters some people saying unflattering things about Luke in the wake of his passing, and she gives one guy a mental suggestion that, let's just say, isn't going to do his family jewels any favors. Marie suddenly finds herself gifted with all kinds of swag from Vought before being escorted to a surprise media interview prep session as part of the press for a new team of sorts that Vought is pushing, tentatively called the Guardians of Godalkin. After which Andre and Marie talk about how weird everything is, especially since Luke whispered to him just before he died something about Andre's father having it, and how all he said to Marie was something about the forest. Marie also explains to Andre how she was almost expelled, and how while he has half the school to cover for him, as well as his dad, who is also a super, who he's being groomed to take over for, she has nothing, and she wants to be left out of everything that might have to do with investigating whatever Luke was talking about. She then finds herself allowed to audit the crime-fighting classes, which she tried to get in before, which doesn't sit well with Jordan, who is now dog shit on a sneaker, basically, now that Luke and the professor are gone, causing them to urge Marie to tell everyone what they did when Luke went off when she's being interviewed, which she says she can't do because she's been given a script. Emma befriends a girl in her acting class and ends up discussing with her the fact that she has to vomit to get small while they're trying to figure out what scene to do for their acting class. Marie has a bit of a therapy session with the deceased professor's replacement, Adira, and she explains that what she wants is to become a hero so that she can find her sister, who apparently was adopted out after her parents were killed. Adira then heads to some kind of secure underground facility, which would seem to be the forest, where experiments are being done on supers, one in particular named Sam, who was the person that was calling out to Luke for help. Kate and Andre find that Luke's room has been completely cleared out and bleach cleaned. Emma finds out that her supposed new friend spilled the beans about how she was able to get small in a viral video, which she says she did, not realizing it was a secret. Andre has a realization that Luke must have been telling him that whatever it is was hidden in the statue of his father. So he uses his metal abilities to open the statue up and retrieve a phone on which there's a video from Luke explaining that his brother's being held in the woods and that Professor Brink was a part of it, as well as asking Andre to help his brother, who everyone thought had killed himself. While practicing her script for her interview, Marie decides she's going to go off script after all. Andre comes across a very small piece of Luke that wasn't scooped up by the crime scene team and decides to go into the professor's office to snoop in his files, which show that Sam is in fact being held captive. Just after he finds this evidence and realizes that Sam was the kid that he and Marie stopped from escaping in the very first episode, security folks come into the office to retrieve the professor's computer and files, while Andre's father continues to call him because he's late for the interview that he was supposed to be in on with Marie. At the interview, Marie learns that the interviewer has got an email from her sister saying that she doesn't want anything to do with Marie. When pressed, Marie decides to stick with the script, thinking, it would seem, that if she pisses off the powers that be, she'll lose the ability to get the information from them as to how to reach her sister. She then confronts Idira as to whether or not she knew about her sister, but Idira says she didn't. After somehow having made it into the forest base place, Andre witnesses a guard straight up murdering another worker in the facility. He's then confronted by another guard whom he disarms, but then is taken down by the guard who uses a sonic device to mess with his super hearing. But Kate shows up and makes another guard make this first guard suck on her flashlight, which she plans to stick up his butt. But then Kate collapses because apparently she's been pushing too frequently lately. That's where the second episode ended. The third episode, called X-Ray, starts in a flashback to before Sam apparently killed himself, at which time Luke and Kate were called in to calm him down when he was on some kind of rampage at a psych hospital. Apparently, when he was given V as a baby, it messed him up big time mentally. Just as his brother had calmed him down, a guard tased him, which he reacted to by shoving his fist through the guard's gut and all the way up and out his mouth, at which point Kate pushed him to go back to sleep. And I was wondering, why didn't she just do that? But anyway, back in the present, she comes around from her fit and seems okay, but she doesn't want to continue investigating the situation alongside Andre, who very much wants to, and somehow their conversation leads to them getting it on. Back in her room, Marie finds that Emma has gotten small to the point where she's almost invisible and needs food to regain her normal size. She and Marie then talk about how they both do self-destructive things to engage their powers and have a bit of a falling out over it. Marie then has breakfast with Indira, who tells her that she thinks her interviewer brought up the stuff about her sister to try to get her flustered so that she might cry on camera, which is better for ratings, and then invites Marie to a fundraiser in honor of the dead professor. Andre's father reads him the riot act for missing the interview and then tells him that he's going to the fundraiser to lick everybody's ass. The girl who leaked Emma's secret apologizes and seems to mean it, but at the same time, she's taping it, which makes Emma doubt her sincerity. Then Emma's mom shows up and fusses over her size and her condition, which of course Emma doesn't like. In another flashback to 3 years ago, Luke is dealing with the news that his brother killed himself, which of course wasn't true. At the fundraising gala, Marie Sparkles and Courtney, along with Emma's mom, pitch Emma on a show starring her that she isn't in love with, since it would depict her as having an eating disorder. Jordan is told he's not of interest to anyone in terms of any media projects, despite his parents being there and talking him up, while Emma and Marie see each other in the loo, where they have a reconciliation. Emma ends up telling her mother to go herself after her mother tells her that she should do the show because she has to work with what she's got. Emma and Andre meet while Emma's having a smoke, and he says he wants to talk to her, and he tells her about Sam and asks her to get small and go down to the forest on a mission, which she says she's delighted to help him with before shrinking down, which apparently enables her to shrink down her clothes and other objects and infiltrating the forest. She even makes her way to Sam's room, but then he traps her under a plastic cup. At the fundraiser, Indira introduces Marie as the guardian of Godulkin during a fundraising appeal, after which she runs a tribute video for the dead professor that the Deep speaks during. When pressed about what he's been up to, Andre tells his father that he knows about the forest, which terrifies his father because he thinks it's going to get Andre killed, the fact that he knows about it, which allows Andre to figure out that his father has known about it. After Sam realizes Emma is real, which at first he didn't think was the case, she tells him she's there to try to get him out, but inexplicably, he's not on board. So Emma says Luke sent her. So he says he'll give her the codes to all the security doors, which he knows because he's been paying attention to the guards. Marie and Kate end up having a conversation where, after Marie tells her about what happened to her parents, Kate tells her that she accidentally made her brother go away forever when she told him to go away and never come back while touching his arm before she knew that she had her powers. Andre informs Kate, Marie, and Jordan about Emma's situation of being stuck in the facility. Speaking of Emma, she and Sam end up talking a little bit, and he tells her that he thinks she's brave just before an alarm sounds because apparently the facility realized that Emma was there, and she's forced to run after they shock a barefoot Sam by electrifying the floor. But instead of running, she jumps onto the security guard and climbs in his ear and goes straight through his head to the other side, which of course kills him, and that's where the third episode ended. So I really liked these 3 episodes. I thought the first one was excellent, a 10 out of 10. I thought the 7-2 were like 8s out of 10. They were pretty good. So I'm looking forward to watching the rest of this season of the show. I think it's actually a better show than The Boys. And I think part of that is because all of the main characters are likable. Even though, they all have flaws and whatnot, they're all kind of good guys, which isn't the case on The Boys, where some of the people are, just out for themselves while pretending to be heroes and, doing really messed up stuff that they shouldn't be doing that, hurt other people. So I think that's a charm that this show has that The Boys doesn't. And don't get me wrong, I still like The Boys. It's just that it's different because, well, for one thing, they're all adults, and adults have baggage, and adults are a little further along in life and have more crap. And so it's not surprising that some of them are not good people because they're messed up. Whereas on Gen V, they're all still young people and they're not really fully messed up or fully jaded like an adult might be. And they're all still kind of good people, which is a sad commentary on adulthood. But anyway, I think that's something that's really good about it. And it seems to have like one central mystery or one central story, which is what's going on in the forest. What are the powers that be doing, which is surrounded by the smaller stories of, each of the characters that are going through some stuff themselves and their relationships to each other, which is a different dynamic than what you have on The Boys, where on The Boys you have a very clear, set of dysfunctional heroes, like I was saying, who are directly opposed by the titular boys, Butcher and that group, who are themselves flawed and trying to fight the powers that be, meaning Vought, and kill the supes. But the thing about that plot is that there's a lot of side stuff going on about, politics within Vought and all of that stuff, and how some of these heroes are pretending to be good when they're not, and there's a lot of overwrought stuff on that show, which makes it good. I think it's a great show, but that stuff is missing from this show, which seems to be a little less complex and therefore, to me, better. I really, really like it, and I'm liking the young cast, and I'm liking these characters. I think they're really cool characters. Emma is a standout for me. I like Andre. I was liking Luke, but he kind of died. I like Marie. Don't like Kate so much, but I don't know, maybe she'll grow on me. I'm a little disappointed that Clancy Brown was killed off, that his character wasn't meant to stay in the show, because I like Clancy Brown as an actor. He's one of my favorites. I'm finding that I like Jordan, which I didn't think I was going to at the beginning because they seem to be kind of a jerk, but I like them now. And I just think it's a really well done show. And of course, it's not missing any of the gore or any of the sex stuff or any of the other, sensational elements of The Boys, which makes The Boys very entertaining. So, that's all there. And I didn't really find anything about the show that's flawed. I think it's really, really good. And I'm absolutely looking forward to watching the episodes every week. And of course, I'll be coming here to do a recap and review of each episode as it's released, which apparently is going to happen on Thursdays, even though the premiere was on a Friday, which I don't understand. Those videos won't be quite as long on recap as this one was, and hopefully will be a little more balanced in terms of recap and review, which, admittedly in this video was kind of short because there isn't really anything to critique. I think they did a good job. Like I said, the characters are likable. Emma's a standout for me. It's got all the gore and other stuff, So, the visual stuff. So I'm liking it, and I'll be back with another video soon. For now, I'm going to get out of here. Until I return, I wish you peace and long life.